We will talk about one such book today, things that will instruct you on how to, a mastermind employing the brain. It is possible to become just like Charles Holmes. If you're unfamiliar with Charles Holmes's name, I must say, then, that the Holes are acute, the most well-known fictional detectives in the world. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle is among them, had produced in my tales, and to this day, people's perceptions of them are equally negative. We have the same sharp holes as before, with extraordinary mental abilities, aim for deduction and observation powers. He keeps picking up on little information, which the general public pays no attention to, and he develops his theory from them. If we do that, it's always right. Have you ever considered yourself to be Sherlock? People nowadays can think like Holmes. I'll explain in the video how. Make use of those strategies on a daily basis. By solving problems and making decisions, can improve one's ability to make. You have probably seen that in life numerous choices must be made each day. We must deal with a lot of issues. Imagine, however, supposing you were Sherlock Holmes, has the ability to solve any issue then, any challenging choice can be made with ease. You just need to use your imagination. Shah will need to train in this manner, to be aware of the methods for locking holes. Prior to reading a Sherlock Holmes story, are expected to be aware in order for us to comprehend that Sherlock. What sort of detective is Holmes in the chilly city of London? Misty nights are invariably enigmatic and used to be dangerous, but it was safe this time. Prior to Holmes, the case was not merely. This was an odd yet terrifying story. In red, who was responsible for the Red Skull or Skull mystery? London as a whole was filled with holes, and at home, Dr. Watson relishes a peaceful evening. We're taking it when the door was abruptly knocked loudly. The door opened after a knock and a tense. The woman entered with obvious terror in her eyes. He was introducing himself. She was a city dweller named Mrs. Elizabeth Martin. Mr. was the wife of a large businessman. Holes, she whispered, her voice wavering, my husband. Someone murdered him and was close to his body. There's a red skull mark on it. After the police were unable to solve it now. Holmes said, Mrs. I need your assistance. Martin collected himself and finished the task. Details about the body of Mr. Martin was discovered in his workspace, and a red was used to create the skull sign. This is the second time that this red skull is occurring in London. Holmes was also connected to the killings right away. He and Watson started looking into Martin's. When Holmes arrived at the office, he observed the circumstances. I had a weird vibe about the entire room. Although it appeared normal, Holmes was worried by one thing. My attention was drawn to the red skull's mark, which Holmes most likely manufactured with blood. Immediately using your unique magnification glass, someone discovered the mark when it was examined. It didn't appear to have been created by an average person. Noticed that the mark's lines were quite distinct, as though it must have been thoughtfully crafted by someone. This is not a typical case, according to Watson Holmes. This is not a criminal's mark. Belongs to someone who is proficient in his field, and this needs to be taken very seriously. While Holmes looks into the matter, it turned out to be the red skull's mark, just in the office of Mr. Martin, but found elsewhere throughout London as well. What might this mark signify? Holmes gave it careful thinking and realized that this, although it is not a typical crime, the cause. He discovered that there is a significant secret concealed by Jean. All of these marks have been discovered in various locations. By no means is it a secret organization. We're connected to the so-called Red Skull. This group was for London's wealthy citizens, was focusing on them and applying pressure. Holmes was so they could have what they wanted. Conducted additional research and quickly, he learned that this organization had its headquarters in London. Among the prominent leaders and businessmen, a covert union existed that scares by leaving a crimson skull mark. However, Holmes' murder of Martin made. I was surprised to learn that he is also a member of this union. So why murder him, Holmes? By using his reasoning, he realized that Martin had attempted to defy the union and He was killed for that reason. He and Watson, we came up with a plan together on how the company ought to be made public. Mrs. Martin was informed by Holmes that every businessman at the funeral for their husband, he turned everything into a trap, similar to a funeral ceremony. Holmes observed that certain entrepreneurs, concern was visible on the faces of the police, were involved in this instance as well, such as, following the conclusion of the funeral, Holmes, he approached everyone in a unique manner and said, "Mr. Martin was killed in a carefully thought-out scheme. You're all part of the scheme too." The evidence stunned the businessman. Provide convincing evidence against such individuals, which he gathered throughout the inquiry. You all believed that you were in this place. Spread fear to achieve your goals. Will leave, but you failed to remember the crime. Little gaps in the world don't conceal anything. The Red Skull could be the final. The company was made public and everything. London 1 nabbed the offenders. Holmes was saved from imminent peril and created another. Complexion wrote about this in his journal. And this whole narrative added yet another successful phase to his career. For Holmes, it was just another case, but his sagacity and reasoning once again proved. Was there ever a mystery in that? Not more than what he could reasonably think. Every time a case is solved by Sherlock Holmes, his greatest strength is if it is resolved. His keenness and meticulousness. Strength. A shark's vision extends beyond his immediate surroundings. He sees that stuff as well, but it does happen. Something a typical person would not notice. He stands out from the others because of this. You see but are not observed, they claim. Declaring this implies that we frequently merely look at things superficially and don't examine them closely, even though everyone focuses on even the slightest details. Regardless of how important it may appear, he is able to solve any situation because of this. You too have great success in tiny gaps, like your keen observation and meticulousness. A few useful things could be made better. The first thing you should do in any scenario is to get advice. When you look at something, pay close attention to it. Consider its surrounds, color, texture, and size. For instance, take note of stuff like this. Upon entering a room, take note of how things are arranged and positioned. The second piece of advice is to watch when you simply listen to the person you are speaking to, their facial expressions and body language rather than, additionally, their speech patterns and facial expressions. Listen carefully, as this will enable you to comprehend their emotional state, and the third piece of advice will improve your comprehension of emotions. Engage in memory and attention testing games. An illustration to improve your capacity for concentration. As entering a space and items. After observing, exit the room. Write as much as you can recall. It will be beneficial to you. Enhances one's capacity for recollection and observation. In daily life, there will be a fourth tip. Looking for minute details. Use it like you would when reading an article. It has minor grammatical errors or notice sharp holes and inconsistencies. Advantages of keen observation and meticulousness. To further understand, let's examine an example. Let's place Charles and Dr. Watson together once. Charles Watson was seated in his room. "How many steps did you take?" I asked. The response has been seen hundreds of times by Watson. When Cheryl inquired again, "Could you please tell me the cost?" When there were steps, Watson was unaware of this. "There are 17 stairs in them," Cheryl retorted. "Since I witnessed and noted." This illustration demonstrates that Cheryl sees everything, not just what is visible, notices and remembers it. He is superior to others because he settles down. If he is able to comprehend things correctly, observation and meticulousness are not only in both your personal and professional lives, can also have a significant impact on life. Similar to Sherlock Holmes, if we improve your ability to pay attention and observe, so that we might view things differently, and strengthen your ability to solve problems. Never forget that you can improve it. You see this little item, but you don't notice it. The most significant mysteries are distinct. A mental lesson can aid in the solution of at the value of recollection and its Shelley Holmes's understanding of the management mind. A very special day for Maria Konnikova. An intriguing and accurate metaphor was provided. The brain storeroom or brain attic is, he attempted to demonstrate through metaphor that the idea that our minds are like attics, the manner in which we recall our past and keep data like butts, keeping pointless things in an attic. By providing a disturbed mind is likewise a disturbed mind if we fill in the blanks with pointless details. In our opinion, a restricted. It has the same because there is an attic with space. Data should be kept on file, which is truly, I must be valuable and significant in this attic. This is how I express my ideas and recollections. Arranges for that anytime someone, special details are required, can locate him right away. In fact, additionally, the brain's capability and resources are restricted. If we throw it away, if we complete it out with data, we will receive the required and unable to store crucial data. So we have to choose who. Keep knowledge in the brain's attic, which must be completed and which must be set aside. According to one of Holmes' tenets, the mind, the same data ought to be maintained in, extremely significant in our lives. This is how selective memory works when we eliminate information that isn't useful. If we just think about that, then information that is helpful to us is still available. Every time we require a solution to an issue, in order for us to accomplish anything, our brains must. We have instant access to information. Thus, our decision-making and thought processes. The procedure is precise and quick. If a variety of mathematical formulas are required, if you must keep in mind, you should focus on resources that assist you. Be beneficial based on everyday requirements. Useless knowledge that is only in your head. The attic takes up space and it's crucial. Makes it challenging to obtain information. Clean it occasionally just like any other attic. Additionally, it is carried out methodically just as our regular upkeep of the brain's attic is also necessary. It is essential to make sure that the sole knowledge that we possess, which is extremely beneficial and pertinent to us, eliminating pointless information on a regular basis. According to Sherlock Holmes, the only things that matter in your mental attic, information that we preserve will be useful to us in any. Important information may be found quickly and offers a facility for use. In addition, we occasionally need to share our memories. It is necessary to update and knowledge so that it makes sure we are significant. Remember the exam material at all times. Whatever you have occasionally learned, reading and repeating are crucial. You remember the information for a very long period. It will arrive when you need it and be safe. The lesson will be easy for you to remember. 3. The role of creativity and imagination. When addressing Sherlock Holmes, frequently a fact-based and logical, are seen as unique individuals, however, a significant factor in his success. Anywhere there is innovation and imagination, if he encounters any issues, he don't rely just on the information at hand. He liked to utilize his imagination, various scenarios and possibilities. Another manner he imagines his thoughts. He stands out from the others because of this whole. His capacity for creativity aids him in the ability to view the issue from a different angle. If it is solely fact-based, he might have failed in a lot of things if he had continued to be dependent. With a little creativity, it is possible. He considers every angle that comes to mind, aids in identifying the problem's solution. When we encounter an issue, we frequently take the same route, which we already know, yet it's easy. Similar to Holmes, if we adopt a new way of thinking, we can get at those solutions if we apply it appropriately. Able to transcend conventional thought. To be creative, you must examining an issue from several angles and come up with fresh, original solutions. Charles frequently considers those factors, what others overlook. He is able to do to his imagination-based possibilities exploration, recognizes the many components of the test, because if he is at a crime scene, he considers more than just the sequence of events. but it also believes that what would have happened if things had gone differently? This imaginative. Many times, he can only go in the proper route by thinking. Another Sherlock Holmes import goes. Techniques include scenario visualization. Every time he encounters an issue, he therefore considers a variety of options. Imagining possible outcomes aids him or her, aids in determining which route, which outcome should he or she prefer, and which is most appropriate. Visualization can assist you in achieving your objective. Indicates that your results are already different. Imagine that for a moment. Think about which outcome is best for you. This procedure might be the most effective for you. Additionally conscious of possible dangers and difficulties. Completes it as an illustration if you consider how the choice would turn out. You already feel good about that choice then, and is able to comprehend the drawbacks that you would have had the ability to make a wiser choice. You have a variety of events in mind, visualizes and then evaluating the situation and reaching the appropriate decision. It extends beyond just his errors. Not only keeps him safe but also points him in that path. Acts morally provided you also do your skills in creativity and visualization. If you'd like to grow tiny holes, then have a few pointers for when you run into issues. Don't rely on just one approach to addressing. Consider many perspectives and come up with fresh concepts. Examine a mind map. There is a method for altering your perspective. Able to think creatively and methodically. This may give you further possibilities to look at and contrast them collectively. Aids in consistent concentration and visualization exercises will be beneficial. Will help you relax and use your imagination more. Will support you in the event that you encounter any difficulties. Ask yourself whether you have any questions. What if I'd made this choice? What would the outcomes look like then? Your mind generates new ideas when you ask questions. Every time we visit the fourth lesson on emotional management, as he looks into a situation, he sets aside feelings and fully focus on objectivity and reasoning from. This lack of emotion makes him obviously. This aids in thinking equitably so that he makes accurate inferences without from prejudice. Emotions impact our decision-making, has a significant effect on the taking. When we encounter an issue, our feelings such wrath, fear, or excitation hinders our capacity for rational thought. We learn from Sherlock Holmes that if we can master emotional regulation, we can overcome any obstacle. This may be more prepared. Controlling our emotions allows us to think clearly and deliberately. It serves as inspiration for the lesson that, in the face of difficulties, we must remain composed and reasonable. Principles must be upheld. We advise you to focus on those items. We ought to take actions that we can manage and avoid wasting time or effort on them. We have to do what we can't alter. Approach any difficulties whole. If you remain composed and reasonable, friends. What did you think of our book summary for today? Thank you, and please let me know by leaving a comment to continue listening till the conclusion of the summary.